Hey, what's up? It's Sunday afternoon. I'm on I-17 between Prescott and Phoenix and heading back to home in Globe. And it's, you know, normal Sunday afternoon going about 0 to 4 miles an hour. So I thought I'd take some of this slow cruising time to tell another hunting story. Here with my pup Mosa, my bird dog. And I wanted to tell the story of my brother Isaac's first buck. And this kid, if you didn't know my brother, I mean, girls and rock and roll, carefree spirit, most fun loving guy, and super fun to have hunting. His nickname is Smoothie, but as far as hunting goes, it ought to be Lucky, because that kid. Anyways, I'll tell you the story. So, this was several years ago. I don't even know, probably maybe 8 years ago. We'll just say 8 years ago. He hadn't killed a deer yet to this point in his life, and my dad, myself, and my two brothers, we all had tags, and we'd gone out on the opening weekend and four-wheeled way back into a spot. We had camp loaded onto our four-wheelers, and we camped out and then hiked out from there. And over that first weekend, we killed 3 nice bucks. And my dad, my youngest brother, Spencer, aka Weed, and not for the reasons you might think, we all killed nice bucks. And the next weekend after that was the last weekend, and my brother Isaac wanted to go out again and see if he couldn't get the job done. So earlier, way before season, we'd gone out scouting, and we'd seen deer in a few different areas. And one of the spots that we had seen a nice buck, we decided to go and see if Isaac couldn't get a deer there on the last weekend of the season. So we got up super early on Saturday morning after we both had school on Friday, and got up before the sun was up, drove all the way out there with our 2 four-wheelers, and took off from the truck before light still. Sun wasn't even up yet. We drove way back up in there into this spot and started hiking up the ridge, and it's thick cat claw. If you know what cat claw is down in Arizona, it's not the most fun stuff to walk through. I mean, that bush will just about tear the clothes off you, tear your pants, shred them up. So we waded up this big hill through the cat claw and got to the top, and over the next ridge and the next ridge. We'd probably gone about a mile, and we hadn't seen so much as a track. I mean, it was barren. It looked like a deer hadn't passed through there since forever. But we decided to keep on going a little further because we had seen a deer months prior when we were scouting. And we got up there to the top of another hill, and it was like we crossed an imaginary line, and almost as if we were stepping into a deer's bedroom. There were tracks everywhere. The ground was just churned up with deer tracks, deer crap all over the place. And it was like, all right, this is getting good. This is what we wanted to see. I couldn't believe it. So we kept going along, and we're glassing and going slow and watching and, keeping our eyes open. Well, we go over a couple of ridges like this, and there's just so much sign, I can't even believe it. So I start telling my brother Isaac, and he's getting super excited. I told you guys already the story of my first deer, so, I mean, you get excited when it's your first one, especially for us in Arizona. Your chances don't always come around that often, especially in some of these units that we hunt that are almost guaranteed to get a tag, not always guaranteed to see or get a deer. So we we get up there, and we're just about to go over this next ridge, and like I said, we're in deer country. And I tell my brother, I said, look, there's going to be deer over here. There's probably going to be a deer in this next draw. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop here and catch our breath, because, we've been hiking pretty good. We weren't going as slow as we probably should have been. And so I said, let's stop up here, catch our breath, get your heart rate down, get ready, because we're going to go just over the next hill. There's going to be a big steep draw, and I'm going to have you sit down, have a nice rest over your knee, and I'm going to stand off to the side of you, and I'm going to throw some big rocks down into that draw. And if there's a buck bedded, odds are he's going to jump out and come running out, and you're going to have to do some good shooting. And it's probably like 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere in there. And we plan this out. So we go right up over the ridge, and I have him sit down right on a prominent spot on a rock where he can see the whole hillside. There's no escape routes. The deer could get out without having a chance at it. So I get out there to the side, and I pick up some softball-sized boulders, and I start hucking them in there, rolling them in there. And I threw probably maybe 4 or 5 of them, and we're sitting there watching, and nothing's happening. We're looking at each other. Just about that moment, we're ready to give that spot up and hike through the draw, or kind of rim around the top of it and go into the next spot. All of a sudden, it sounded like the rocks that I had thrown a couple minutes before started to roll again. We started hearing all kinds of noise in the bottom of that draw. And I'll be danged if a big buck jumps out and starts running up the hill. And when I say big buck, I mean gargantuan. I don't mean gargantuan horns. The horns weren't that amazing. It was a nice buck, thick-horned, heavy-horned buck, but I mean, this thing was a brute. It looked like a horse. I mean, huge deer comes running out. And it's so big, it looks like it's huffing and puffing to get up the hill. I mean, he's like, you can like see his sides rolling as he's jumping. And he gets up there about 80 yards away and turns broadside and looks back at us. And I'm in my head, all right, Isaac, kill him. And I don't know if I was saying that in my head or if I was whispering it, but I was like, this is the perfect opportunity. This is playing out just like we talked about, just like I said it would. I can't believe it. And then, pow, first shot, and I see a branch break like 4 feet above the deer's back. I mean, way over its back, and I just can't believe it. I'm about to lose it. I'm like, what in the heck? How did you miss? How did you miss? How did you shoot up there? Did you fall in the scope or something? Or what's going on? And I'm saying, load another one in, shoot it again, get it. So he jacks out that bullet, loads in another one, and granted, from my first deer encounter with a gun in my hands, he's already doing better because he actually shot my first one. I just, jacked live rounds out of the gun onto the ground. So, second shot, pow! Rocks explode at the deer's feet, probably a couple feet below his feet. And this deer jumps and starts running along the side hill again and stops again. And it's maybe only another 10 or 20 yards farther out. So maybe 90, 100 yards, and stops again and looks at us. Pow! I don't even see where that bullet goes. I mean, not even a trace of it. The deer's obviously not hit. He bounds a couple more and stops again for a third time. I mean, how often do you have a buck stop and look back at you 3 times? Pow! Nothing. I have no idea where this bullet hit. No clue what's going on, and I'm already thinking, it's over. We're done. This buck is going to be off and free for the rest of the season and year, and maybe next year. I just can't believe it. So the deer starts bounding again and gets to the top of the ridge and stops and looks back for a second, just a split second. And I mean, this is like 4 times the deer stopped and looked, and my brother's back down to his last bullet. He has 5 rounds in the gun, 1 in the chamber, 4 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. And this is his last shot. And then the buck jumps before he shoots, and it's sailing over the hill out of sight, right on the horizon. And pow, I hear a shot, and the deer just sails out of sight. And I'm thinking, oh man, my heart just sinks. And I'm trying to, not make my brother feel bad. I'm trying to not get bummed myself. I'm thinking, there's so much sign here. We'll find another one. But what I actually say to him is, okay, well, let's go up there. You shot at an animal. Said you might have gotten him. We got to go up there and do everything we can to find any blood. See if you hit him. Maybe you did. We can track him down. I'm talking him through the process that you always put in every effort you can if you shoot at a deer, whether you think you got it or not, to just make sure that there is no sign of a hit, and if there is, to track him down, find him, and recover that animal. But in my head, I'm like, there's no way. Didn't kill this buck. Not a chance in heck. So as we're walking over there, I'm like, well, if you didn't get it, if we don't find any blood, we'll keep hunting. We'll go up to that ridge. We'll ring around there. And then we'll start making our way back to the four-wheelers, and we'll hunt down that whole mountainside back. And, maybe we'll find another buck. But in my head, I'm like, that was the last chance. That was it. It's over. Next season, maybe. Well, we get up there to where he first shot, and we're kind of going slow back and forth through the grass, looking for any sign of a hit and blood. And I'm really honestly not putting that much effort into looking for blood in those first areas, because I could see where the first 2 shots hit. And we get up there to the top of the ridge where that buck was last standing as he sailed over the hill out of sight. And I look up and I can just see 2 big brown forks sticking up out of the grass about 30 yards away. I could not believe it. I started jumping up and down, screaming. I grabbed my brother and started hugging him, jumping up and down, going, woohoo, woohoo, all right. And he's like, he doesn't know what's going on. He thinks I'm going crazy. And he's like, what is it? So look over there. So we walk over there, and sure enough, that deer is laying dead. My brother, as that deer jumped midair, my brother shot his last and 5th final shot and hit that deer right behind the ear in the head, and the bullet exited underneath the far side eyeball and killed that deer midair. The deer landed dead in the ground just out of sight over the hill. Are you serious? Who does that? How does that happen? How did he miss the deer standing at 80 yards broadside and shoot 4 feet over his back and then shoot below his feet and then hit it in the head as it's sailing through the air over the hill? My brother Isaac, the one and only Smoothie. So it was pretty cool. One of the experiences that I'll never forget. And anybody else that goes out hunting, some of the best and most vivid memories that you have will be when you're not the one pulling the trigger. You're the one that's watching the whole experience unfold, and you get to see somebody else have a great experience, like my brother for his first deer. And the whole rest of the day, it took us quite a few hours to pack that deer out. Like I said, it was huge. I mean, we cut it into halves, and he carried one half and I carried the other half. And after 2 or 3 rests where I was able to pick up the front half by the horns and hoist it up onto my shoulder, I did that, I think, 3 times, and after that I couldn't even get it up to my shoulder anymore from the ground. I had to lay down and roll the deer onto my back and then get to my knees and then finally stand up because it was so big. And we finally got back to the four-wheelers and rode them back and loaded up the truck and got back to home after dark. But awesome experience. We'll never forget it. And just a reminder, motivation, whatever it might be, to get out there with your family, have cool experiences in the outdoors, go hunting, take your brother, your sister, your friend, girlfriend, anybody that wants to go, and have a good time. So thanks. Bye from Mosa 2.